Hi everyone, my name is Fredrik. I'm from Ivar, or Ivar Studios as we call ourselves now. We're an immersive studio focusing on storytelling in 360, VR, AR, immersive formats, yada yada yada, you've heard it all. First I want to say that Media Monks thing looked incredible, so I think you should bring that to Sweden, because we need that here. At Ivar, we've been focusing from the start on storytelling. We started out, or well, I actually started out before 2016 when Ivar was started, but we've been working in the immersive format for a long time. That's what I'm going to say. We usually divide it up to these categories. Cinematic storytelling, where we think about 360 videos. Enterprise applications, because that's the best way to say industrial use cases. And then innovation in XR, when we try out new stuff and just make it work. First I have this, if it works. Just a few clips from our expeditions and stuff. So it makes it look like I'm an international agent traveling around the world doing cool stuff. Which is, yeah, sometimes that's what it's like. We see storytelling in VR as something we want to put the user in the center of the story. We want them to experience it like if they were there. Amongst our use cases and our applications are mostly commercial, but we have also found very good value in working with documentaries, doing empathy-driven stories, just like the one Warp in Media just mentioned, because VR really is an empathy machine. It lets you experience something like if you were there, and yeah, be in another person's shoes, basically. Let's just see if this goes on. Okay, yeah. So immersive storytelling, what is this and why is it important? I'm going to deep dive into that, and then I will go to two use cases we worked on. As I mentioned, we have our different sections: cinematic, industrial, and narrative. Basically, this has been something everyone has thought about in VR. Like, let's just put the camera in the center and shoot a 360 video, and you can experience it like you were there. And that's been the use case most of the times. But what's happening more and more is that you learn it's not about the camera, it's about putting the user in the center, like making them engage in the story and understand why are they there and how are they going to react to it. So now it's 2018, we have had this incredible technical revolution happening in the last few years. Like, it's been insane working in the format, because each day you read about a new camera, or a new technology, or a new format, or whatever it is. So it's been hard to keep track of it all. But now, I think we finally have had this technical revolution. We have a new format, or we have several new formats actually, with the tools actually. We have good tools now that we can work with. We have head-mounted displays that are out there. We have the Oculus Go, which is a very cheap introduction headset that people can actually buy and have at home, because I want to ask this actually, who here has a VR headset at home? Yeah, okay, this is a VR crowd. This is better than I expected, but still, it's not that many. And me as well, like a nerd, I've been in this space for a long time, and how often do I put on the VR headset except for work? Well, not that often, because the problem we have is that the narrative revolution hasn't really happened yet. We don't have good enough stories to put on this clunky, hot piece of metal on your face and sweat with it, because the narratives aren't there yet. So I think what we're trying to focus on now, and what we expect everyone here to work with, is creating this narrative revolution, telling stories that are actually worth for the format, and actually progressing it forward, and not just, wow, I can shoot in 8K now, because who cares about high resolution when the story is bad? So these are just some keywords, I guess, that I put out there so it looks good in the presentation. I'm going to mention two examples that we've worked with. First one is called My New Home. It was an interactive story we made a few years ago with Plan International. They're a charity organization working with child rights. The story world here was the forgotten refugee crisis. Basically, the refugee crisis that's happening, the big migration from poor countries in Africa. This one was focused on war refugees from Rwanda to Tanzania. And this was one of our first projects. It was an interactive story where you step into the shoes of a refugee child. It's shot from the perspective of a child, so everywhere in the story, when you meet an adult, you have to look up at the person. And that was something when we realized that this is the way to do it. Like, if you want someone to be in the shoes of a kid, they actually have to be in the shoes of a kid. You can't shoot something from the normal height if they're supposed to look up at adults. Learning stuff like this has been very, very valuable for us, and after a few years it feels like we've learned what narrative tricks there are to use. And for us it's always been about creating these interactive narratives, which is, like Dean mentioned, it's a lot of work to get it to work, and you also limit yourself because if you do a 360 video, you can put that on almost any platform these days. But if you do an interactive project, well, you're limiting yourself by a wider range. So we try to focus on working with web VR, which is web-based VR, when you don't actually have to download applications, because I don't download applications and therefore I don't believe in applications, which is sort of, yeah. But this one is available on the Oculus Store because that's an application. But it's also available in that VR. And then we have something else that we've been starting working more and more with. It's basically a more industrial use case, but it's still storytelling driven. In Swedish it's called interaktiva studiebesök, which doesn't really translate to anything well in English, so I call it interactive study visits, which I don't think is correct. It's a project we're doing together with an educational organization called Framtidsrön. We've received Vinnova funding for it, and we're targeting basically education and school youth. It's about showing different work roles and showing working environments so you can appreciate them before you take your career path, basically. So one of the first ones and one of the most visual ones so far has been a welder we did, where you get to follow her day as a welder, and at the same time you can ask her questions by using interactive hotspots. This is being developed right now, but we aim to release it as a web VR application for schools, and also for, probably a normal application, because school, they'll work. But that's the only two examples I had, really. I wish I also had an explosive presentation with Ryan, but so that's my email, that's our Instagram at the bottom if you want to follow us, and that's my phone number if you also have anything fun to talk about. I'm always open.